everybody. This is Patty with Get Balanced 2020. How you doing? I wasn't planning on doing this live video, but you know what? There's so much stress going on out there. And yes, I am using my old step. How many of you guys remind or even know what the step is? Do you remember? Yeah, I knew you did. If you haven't gone to the gym, what it is, it's just a piece of equipment that you basically step up and step down. So what I'm doing it for is basically what we need to start doing. And I'm going to talk about 3 things today. And those 3 things are going to combine together because what we're doing going through this COVID-19 is creating a lot of stress. And that's what exercise, nutrition, and our mind, thought, and our process is really, really important about this time to think about it. Not to mention, we need to actually be able to laugh because we're all going through so much stress. We need to figure out how to defrag and get out of this major stress zone. I have a family member that works in healthcare. I have friends that work in healthcare, and these people need our positive support, not to ignore what they're going through, because in this day and age right now, none of us know what's going on as far as where it is, what it is going to do, if it's going to affect us or not. So we need to learn to de-stress. De-stressing, and I'm going to do that today, hopefully for you, but we're going to lighten it up. We need to lighten it up because the thing is, life is very short. And if we only stay focused on one thing, which is this COVID-19, and hang on a second. I am not quite sure if I'm doing this right. Anyway, so what we need to do is basically figure out ways to de-stress, defrag, and actually have some fun while we go through that, because at the end of the day, we cannot control what is going on. We cannot control that it's now airborne wherever it is. We don't know who has it, who doesn't. We don't know if it's in our workplace. We don't know if it's in our homes already. And we don't know any of that situation. So what we need to do is learn to be kind to each other, how to communicate better, not only communicate within our families, but at our co-workers. I am still working, so we're in an industry that's called essential. So we are actually still working. But the thing is that we need to learn to communicate, learn to sometimes hold our tongue when we don't need to express certain things, but also too, we need to learn how to understand and to get somebody else's perspective for what we're doing and going through, and not just our own. This is where, like, road rage, I mean, I'm sure all of you have gone to the grocery store, all of you have witnessed something in the parking lot. I'm sure that somebody has stories out there about all the crap that keeps happening. I mean, today I was out doing laundry and I was getting everything done, and I ran into the dollar store, and the guy was talking about the silly guy that took all those hand sanitizers and then hoarded and was going to double. Shame on him. But the thing is, we need to start thinking, communicating, not only for ourselves, but for others. So today, all I want to do is try to bring together some fun, get some of that stress out, whether I get back up on the step and I do it through my whole thing, when we do that. So one thing that we want to understand is if we've got a family member that is working in the health field or in a job still, that we need to give them a little bit of grace. If you know what grace is, that means we just basically need to be a little bit more empathetic because they're stressed out. Now, if I'm at work, I'm wondering, okay, what did they do this weekend, and all that kind of stuff that maybe they got it, and now maybe I got to bring it home. So those kind of things, we need to be a little bit more empathetic to what other people are doing. You also need to be more communicative. Now, in one instance, we got a big letter in our email saying, keep 6 feet away, keep 6 feet away. But the person writing the email, I caught him like 2 feet or in front of somebody. I'm like, 6 feet. So just being respectful like everybody is. I was in the grocery store and amazed that everybody was keeping their distance. Praise God, because they may be doing it for themselves, but the point is they're doing it. So we just have to be mindful of our own space and what we're doing to help ourselves and our families. And a lot of that has to do with our thought process. Now, on Mindful Mondays, we usually talk about thought process and mind and how that works and how to get rid of the old bad toxicity and the bad things in life. But the other thing too is we also talk about how to create positive things and positive life changes to do that. So in this time, in this stressful time, basically what we want to do is start thinking in that positive aspect. Oh, it's really hard to do, I lost my job, or we got lots of reasons. Everybody has a reason or a problem or a situation that they're trying to deal with through this all, but you got to stay positive. Now, when we talk about Spiritual Saturday, what that does, if you stay positive, it raises your vibrations. And in other words, it keeps you in a good mood, and the people around you stay in a good mood, and that kind of thing. If you keep thinking negative, it lowers those vibrations, and it keeps everything squashed and negative and nasty. Look at the parking lots. Try to go through the parking lots. Everybody gets angry at everybody really easy, that kind of thing. You want to do the opposite. Don't get angry. As the British say calm and move on, or whatever it is that they say. But the thing is, what we want to do is literally do that. Stay calm. If you feel yourself starting to rise up, you need to take a deep breath and just relax. You need to relax. You need to relax for yourself, because the more stress you cause for yourself that creates stress for your body, and there could be some really negative repercussions from that. The other thing is, we'll talk on the nutrition and fitness side, if there is stress and you keep going to the doctor and they keep saying there's nothing, I will tell you from testimony, firsthand experience, a lot of that either is through your stress, and your stress is causing it, and you need to find out how to de-stress. Like in this time that we have with the COVID, you have to find things that de-stress you, whether maybe it's exercise, maybe you like enjoying music, or maybe you like to take a walk, some kind of exercise. Maybe you like gardening, maybe you like watching movies. That's not too good all the time, because we need to be moving, because that's what we need to do, is get the blood flow. So staying positive also has to do with not only our mindset, our nutrition, our food, and everything. And that's what we talk about at Get Balanced 2020. So the thing is, here, we need to stay in a positive. So whenever you're in a situation at home or work or whatever, or you're out in the grocery store. Now, one of the grocery stores here has tape on the floor where you have to stop every 6 feet. That's great. That's a lot of effort and time that those people put in to do that for us and for them and their workers. Problem is, you get up to the cash register and you're right in front of the other person. So hopefully that person doesn't have it. Those kind of things. I mean, we just don't know. Even the medical people just don't know. So the thing is, stay positive for yourself and for your family. So when you feel things starting to get negative, switch that. We're talking about Mindful Monday now. Switch that process. Catch yourself right there and go ahead and say, nope, hey, I recognize it. I did this with my daughter years ago, and she by the end of the day, I said, okay, through this whole day, see how often you think of blah, blah, blah. And so at the end of the day, she goes, wow, Mom, I didn't realize I was thinking that way. Well, it's detrimental to us as our whole body to get balanced. So when you start getting really stressed out, just take a deep breath. And it's like, and if you even recognize that you're talking negative, thinking negative, catch it, pull it back, get that horse, pull those reins in and stop. So because what you want to do is recognize it, because you want to switch those vibrations from a low frequency to a high frequency, or in real people terms, I mean, I'm weird that way anyway, but you want to go from a negative attitude to a positive attitude, from a dark attitude to a light attitude. So catch it, stop it, change it. Now, here's the thing. I feel, and I hope anybody in an abuse support group, please share this, because I would love to be there for them too. This is a real hard time for them, because unfortunately they have to be home, and if there's any abuse going on, you've got major stress, and sometimes you can't de-escalate, which I want to talk about next. You're going to stop, you're going to recognize, You're going to switch. And you can do this if you're even in that kind of situation. I'm getting goosebumps. So this is for somebody out there, I don't know who, is going to watch live or when it's recorded. But please, I've got goosebumps for you. This next thing is de-escalate. Whatever it takes to de-escalate something. If you're out driving your car, somebody gets road rage, de-escalate. If it means for you to drive off, if it means for you to roll your windows up and shut up, that's what you do. In a conversation, we talk in communication classes that my professors and stuff, when I went in college, I learned all about this stuff. But the thing is, they want to talk about de-escalation because de-escalation is really huge. And what a tool that you can use. You can use it anywhere. So, for example, I'm having an argument. I have to know sort of who I'm talking to and how they like to be de-escalated, because there's different things that you can try, and it's different for everybody else. So if you don't know that person, you're in a store, in a situation, and the stress is rising, step back from it. If you're in a store and it's somebody you don't know, you don't need to get involved. Step back, walk away, ignore it. Don't get like social media and have to put your 2 cents in, because nobody really even cares at this point. All they care about is taking care of themselves and their families, and crap is falling apart. So you want to de-escalate. So a lot of the times de-escalating, sometimes that is just walking away. So if you're at home, this is good for your kids too, to find out. Yes, parents, yes, this is good for kids too. So a lot of the times, go to your room, do as I say. Some kids, like my daughter, they want to know why. It doesn't mean that you have to sit there and explain everything to them, but some kids are so intelligent that they actually will want to know why and understand, and then they'll go do it. If you want me to go to my room, okay, I'll go to my room. But can you tell me why? One time a dentist would not explain. My daughter was, I think, 4. She had, what do you call it, card teeth, where they sort of break off a little bit. And my daughter is extremely intelligent, and the doctor would not even, she's like, Mom, why? What's going on? What's going on? And I said, well, you know, he's going to start working on you. You know, he'll share with you. No, he wouldn't. Because he had the mentality that the kids are at a certain age that they don't deserve to think. So this is really something important for your kids too. So when you de-escalate, there's a lot of different things that you do. You're in a heated argument, and at that point, nobody's listening. Nobody's even caring. Sometimes what happens is we end up over talking the other person because we want to get what we say out, and we don't even care what the other person's saying, when in all reality, it might be something that we really needed to hear. So the thing is, when you de-escalate, 1, walk away. 2, if that person is basically going to, maybe if you want to tell a joke to lighten it up, and sometimes that's not the appropriate time, or just say, hey, you know what, let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it more calmly. Because when your heart rate gets up and your blood gets going, these things close. So in order to be able to have proper communication that is going to be constructive and effective, then we basically need to just step back and say, hey, let's come back in half an hour. You go to your corner, I'll go to my corner. And during this time with the COVID, and some people are isolated, I mean, even doctors are staying in their garages to stay separate from the family so they don't fight or they don't get the virus. So, you know, you got to understand that everybody's situation is different. Walk away, come back. But it doesn't mean that you come back 2 days later and talk about it. Never go to bed angry if you're a couple, because that, I hate to say it, but sometimes that partner won't wake up, and you don't want to go in a bad note. I've had a brother that was murdered, and I've lost my mother to cancer, those kind of things. You don't want them to leave this earth having an argument. You just don't. That's just not the way. So what you want to do is finish it, get it done for that day. And women, please, 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 when it's done and over with, let it go. Stop bringing it up in the future. Men don't work that way. Men like, okay, you know, it's done, it's over with. We're the ones that keep bringing it up, and then we end up with more fights. So when we're de-escalating, get to the bottom, use less words. Men don't like a lot of words. Keep it short, bottom line, and sweet. That's what they like. Less words, bottom line, what do we need to do? Get it done, and then go. So de-escalate, come back, and then go ahead and finish your conversation. Now, some people like to de-escalate by music. Some people like to de-escalate by taking a walk and getting some fresh air. Some people like to de-escalate by saying, you know what, I'm going to go take a drive, but you just don't want to keep going. You keep going, going, going. You're going to end up with destructive communication rather than constructive communication. The other thing that I would like to really, really stress, and this has to be a taught and learned thing from you, basically, this is something you have to teach yourself, and it will take time. And what it is the way to communicate with your partner, because when we're in a stressful situation and you're starting to escalate, what is the one thing that a lot of people do? Now, I tried to teach this to my ex who is from another country, and it was too hard for him to do because they don't do that in their country. We point blame. And this is what we do out in the public with this COVID. Oh, well, they got it first, so now I got to go home. I can't work. Oh, crap, so we want to put the blame somewhere else. So when we start communicating, okay, write this down because this is key, because it will save you so much time. I'll give you 2 tips. When you're communicating through all this stress, then basically you start the conversation out very simply with I. You do not start the conversation out with you. So let me give you some examples. You're having a conversation. Well, you left the dishes out. You don't like to do the dishes. Why don't you do the dishes? You keep doing it over and over and over. Destructive. Starting a conversation out with you is destructive. Now let's see the opposite side. Honey, I really don't like it when you don't do the dishes. Is there something we can do to compromise with that? I'm not putting blame on the other person. I'm taking ownership for what I like, what I don't like, because that's my issue, not their issue. So in the times of stress, a lot of the times we sit there and look at what the other person's doing. This happens for marriages. This happens for relationships, friends, family. We get into this mode where and then we start gossiping. Stop gossiping. Stop talking to your lady friends about your husband and your family. You keep that at home. Thing is that this video stuff is weird. But anyway, you've got to understand that you keep things at home. You do keep things in the I mode, and try that for a while. It is really not that easy because we want to turn around and say, well, you, because we're a blame society. We got to blame it on Trump that we got the COVID-19. I don't like the guy either, but you know what? Stop putting blame somewhere. Let's see what we can do and take accountability for our own actions. And that would de-escalate stress, but it also would help you with your communication with partners, co-workers, family members, friends, whatever, your animals. I love my animals. But anyway, so that's what we're talking about. So when you start a conversation with I really like when and that's a really positive thing. I really like, you want to start one of your conversations out with a positive, go to the meat of the matter, the elephant in the room, and then end up with a positive. So I really like when you help me with the dishes, even if we're doing it together. I really like that. It makes me feel good, like you care or matter. Nobody else should really be making you feel better. You should be doing that for yourself. But you can say that to them rather than saying, well, you know what, you don't do the dishes and I'm always having to do the dishes. So you know what, why don't you get off your lazy and do the dishes? So there's a difference there. Okay, so the other thing too, number 2, is you're looking at, in this communication of stress, about your perspective versus their perspective. Now, if you're married or with a partner and you've been with them a long time, you sort of know how that person works here. So you've got to understand that when you go into the workplace, I had a coworker, I went in there and he's a bully and he talks mean to people. And I'm like, oh, hell no, not to me. You ain't gonna do that to me. He tried that one time. And what I did was, listen, dude, you are looking from your perspective in your department. You're not even considering my perspective from my department. So don't go there. Don't do that. I respect your perspective, respect mine for what my job is. And you know what? He kept bullying everybody else, but he was fine with me. So the thing is, perspectives are very different. And now if you're mixing cultures, maybe you've got an intermixed relationship, that is a different dynamic. And let me tell you, I've been in it, and it takes a real special person to be able to sit there and communicate and make sure you are being understood. So understand, one, start speaking from I, not you. Go ahead and learn what your perspective is and possibly learn what the other person's perspective is. And don't say, well, I think you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're not walking around in their head. So don't tell somebody that, because that's a red flag and it sets a lot of people off, especially me. Don't tell me that what you know I'm thinking. Because you actually don't. I'm an empath. You would never have an idea what I'm thinking. If you don't know what an empath is, go look it up, because I have all these special little gifts. But the empath, I don't know, it's a very different kind of mindset. So don't tell somebody that they know what you're thinking, that kind of thing. So during this time of de-escalation, you're going to also think from your perspective, talk about I. And actually, when we started conversations about using I first, and my ex did try that, then he actually understood, but it was too hard. So that other person, just understand that that person may not want to put in the 100% like you are. So you've got to evaluate all that kind of stuff as well. So a lot of mind thinking here, a lot of practice. It's going to just take practice to do that. Start thinking from your perspective and remembering that their perspective is not the same, and be open to what their perspective is. If you're misunderstanding something, there's a communication breakdown. You need to be your own scientist and researcher to go, where did this break down? So when you sit there and you're thinking, okay, it broke down when I said, you don't do the dishes. Well, it immediately broke down because the words were destructive, not constructive. So when you're in constructive communication, you figure out where that is. So it's all a way, when we communicate more properly and clearly, it takes two of us to sit down and do it. But the other thing too is that you get to understand each other. You get to love at a different level, whether you're family, friends, or whatever. There is love of all different levels. Did you know that? Why do guys think, oh, if you use the I love you word, then they're gone? It's like, hello, there's different levels of love. And there's nothing wrong with love, because that's what we're here to do. That's on Spiritual Saturday. But that's what we're supposed to do, is love. So we get to love deeper and that kind of thing. So the other couple of things before I want to finish is that when we go to de-escalate, and we now have used I, we now have tried to figure out the perspective. And if you're in isolation or going to be in isolation, that doesn't mean isolation just inside the house to make you go nuts. It's actually, you can go outside your house. I don't know if you have a yard or not like that, but that's another topic here in a few minutes for fitness, because I'll be doing another fitness one. I think I might go to YouTube to do that one, because I have a YouTube channel as well about Get Balanced 2020. But what you want to do is, if you're going to be in home a long time, and this is a good practice to start with your family and your children must be involved in this kind of a thing, is to have at least once a week a round table. Well, say, oh, I got a square table. Yeah, I got a square table too, but okay, let's square table it. So what you want to do is called a round table. Some of you may know. I'd love to know how many people do a round table out there. So what you do is, once a week, you, your partner, your family, whatever, come to the table with whatever this week is maybe something that's done really good. Maybe the kids have done really good. Now everybody's out of school, so maybe mom is teaching the kids, and maybe, husband can pipe up and say, wow, they're doing a really good job, honey, look at this, look at that. But the kids can be involved. But that also, too, allows the kids to sit there with mom and dad and have a conversation about what is bothering them. Mom, I'm bored. Okay. Problem is, even my daughter, being 24 years old, when we ended up with no Wi-Fi a while back, she's like, I'm bored. I'm like, are you serious? These kids these days don't play board games, don't play cards, don't maybe get out in the yard and do some yard work, maybe go wash your car. Well, it was raining that day, but I'll give it that. But these kids are so geared for electronics. This is a time to get them away, and this will help the de-stress. It'll bring in laughter and joy, that kind of thing. So Uno, a board game. Hey, we still have board games. It is this age where we still have board games. But don't be like me, stupidly saying, hey, honey, you want to play a game? And I bring out, sorry, because I always win, and it pisses her off. Don't take a game that ends up getting the whole family pissed off. The idea of de-stressing is to have fun, have some laughter, have some good conversations. And the other thing, if you haven't seen my video about making memories, what is really important to our life, and one of the things, go to YouTube and look up Making Memories for Get Balanced 2020. Really, really good video and tips. But you want to make those memories. You really want to do that, de-escalate. When I was homeless, and some of you don't know me, but I went from being homeless to a business owner. And during that homeless time, as a single mother, I had to sit there, and one time, I actually was twice. And one time my daughter had no clue. She wasn't with me. I made her stay with her dad, and I lived in the car with my dog. The other time was when I actually owned a business, and things actually sort of took a real bad dive, and financially we were hurting, but I made it an adventure. She had no idea that we were actually even homeless. We were just taking a week to 2 weeks break in between, and we made it an adventure where we were. We were actually in a place, but we actually had to make it look like maybe we're having an adventure, like we were in the jungle or something like that. So you can take any bad situation, de-escalate it, turn it around, and make it a positive. And that's what Get Balanced 2020 is all about, taking the hard parts of life and turning them around. If you need help with that, don't hesitate to PM me, or go to my website, getbalanced2020.com, send me a message, and I will be there for inspiration, mentorship, for whatever your problem is. I've been through abuse, I've been through a murder, I've been through my mother losing cancer, I've been through actually being one time, and I've been through so many things, people, that I can actually, and if you need a resource from being homeless to a business, there are resources out there even during this hard time. I can even tell you something for toilet paper. Don't you remember we used to have diapers? No, I'm not telling you to go wear a diaper, but you can actually take old t-shirts, maybe not for poop, but you can for pee, and white for women's, and just rip up old t-shirts and wash those. And we used to do that. You put it in a bucket of bleach, and you basically, clean them that way, and then you turn around and wash them, and they're good to go. There are ways to de-stress and make a bad situation better. And so, but we have to know that it is your mindset. So a lot of what I'm talking about today is about communication, because people are getting edgy, people are getting angry, people are getting short-tempered. It's even happening in my home. And what I do is, that's what I do, because everybody is going through their own stress. So what you need to do is be loving, be empathetic, communicate your needs. Don't tell everybody else what they need or how they should be doing it. What you need. and realize that if something isn't working right or you don't like something, that's your issue, not the other person's. Now, if the other person wants to compromise and say, okay, I can help with that, or I can do that, I didn't even know that you felt that way, then those are the kind of things that you really want to communicate about. There are ways of constructive communication, destructive. So I don't want to keep repeating myself. But the thing is, I'm trying to think, okay, I'm going to go into actually a nutrition video next during this hard time of COVID-19. But this is what I really wanted to share today. I believe in the divine, the creator, whatever you want to believe. I believe that he asked me here to do this today for somebody out there. Somebody needed to hear this. I don't know who you are. I hope it helped. And I hope that anybody out there listening, whether you're watching it live or you watch it recorded, I'm getting goosebumps. This is for somebody. You know, I am an intuitive. I do have abilities that way. So my intuition right now, my chakras are just going crazy. So whoever this is out there, just remember to be kind to yourself, be empathetic. Know you can only do what you can do for yourself, and that you need to also work on spirit, your foundation of everything where you are. Because even in an abusive relationship, whether it's sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, or whatever, they're broken, the other person is broken, and they are too afraid and living in fear, so they have to do it very destructively on somebody else. You need to take care of yourself. So that's basically what you need to do today. So I love you guys. I thank you for coming in. Remember, don't be destructive and use. Talk about perception, your perception, not somebody else's perception. Have that round table once a week. Do not bring old stuff up. You're only bringing stuff up for this week. Ladies, please stop bringing up the past. It doesn't help. You got to put it to bed like the guys do right there and move forward. You can never move forward because you'll be stuck on what happened in the past. Today forward, because we don't have yesterday anymore and we don't have tomorrow. So make sure that you stay for today and today only. All right. I love you guys. GetBalanced2020.com. My YouTube channel is GetBalanced2020.com, Patty Hall. And I do have Facebook. Please have everybody share, like, and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. I would really love to see you there. And I hope all and everybody stay calm, deep breath, close your eyes. Take 5 minutes for yourself in a quiet space, even if you have to go out to your car. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.